Hello my guys, welcome to another pretty substantial unhaul. I'm pretty sure that this is the first and only year in the entire 7-year history of my channel where I am not only bringing you unhaul videos more frequently than I'm bringing you haul videos, but my unhaul videos are substantially larger than my hauls. Like, I think I did an unhaul and a haul at around the same time this year. I've done one of each, and at this point I have 12 books in my haul pile, and I'm going to be unhauling 37 books for you guys today. So a lot of these books you may have already seen on my channel if you are up to date, if you're one of the real ones, because I am doing the Shelf It or Scrap It project throughout 2024, which obviously does lead to quite a bit of unhauling. So a lot of these are a product of Shelf It or Scrap It, but also a lot of them are just books that I have organically unhauled because I've read them, and then after I filmed my wrap up I've decided that I don't want them anymore. So we are going to be going through these in no particular order, but before we get stuck into it, because I always get questions about this, I am now currently selling the books that I unhaul, or at least some of them. I do still donate a lot of them to charity, especially a lot of my beat up paperbacks, but I do also now sell some of the books that I unhaul on Vinted. Vinted does come with its restrictions. I am pretty sure that it is only available to people in the UK, but it is the quickest, easiest, like most simple way for me to sell my books, so I'm sorry if they're not available to you. If you are in the UK and you would like to get your hands on some of the books that I unhaul, I would recommend following me on Vinted, because what you are going to find is that by the time you watch this video, the majority of these books are already going to have gone, because I'm going to start listing them tomorrow. But if you follow me, you will get notifications when I upload new stuff, so you're also getting a sneak peek into the video really, because you're going to see the books that I unhaul go up for sale way before you see the video. But I will link that down below if you guys want to check it out. But getting into the books that I'm unhauling in no particular order, we will start off with Homeland by R.A. Salvatore. I'm a little bit sad about this one. This one was a Patreon pick that I ended up DNFing. It is a D&D series. It is the start of like a really long, like 20-30 book series that I actually heard some pretty good things about after I said I was going to be reading it. Sadly, the story was not for me. The way that the story was told was not for me. I found myself not really caring very much about it, and I did actually make it halfway through before DNFing this, so I did give it a good go, but I just wasn't invested at all. I am also going to be unhauling my Illumicrate edition of Babel. This is one that I read in Shelf It or Scrap It, and I actually really enjoyed, but because I am a rep for a couple of subscription boxes, I actually had multiple editions of this, and I did not enjoy it enough that I need to keep both copies, so I have decided to keep my Fairy Loot copy, and I'm going to be unhauling the Illumicrate one. It's a very pretty one. I actually don't have much of a preference between the Fairy Loot and the Illumicrate. I just think that the Fairy Loot is just very slightly nicer, so I'm saying goodbye to Illumicrate. Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is one that I thought that I was really gonna love because I love Gothic stories. The element of horror in here, I thought it was going to be Gothic suspense, and it is, but it also has a like subgenre of horror, or like a particular horror trope that I did not know it was going to contain, and it's not one that I like to seek out for myself. It really does give me the ick, which I mean is the point in horror, but it's just not a type of horror that I choose to read. I wasn't invested in it up until that point, and then that completely put me off, so sadly, even though I thought I was gonna love this, it was a big miss for me. I am gonna find all of these actually. I very recently removed all of the reverse harem books that I have from my shelves, because it is a subgenre of romance that I know a lot of you guys love, and it is something that I was exploring at the time when I was trying to figure out what kinds of romance I enjoyed. Turns out I don't like reverse harem, so instead of me continually like picking books up to try them and then going, I don't like reverse harem, I just decided to unhaul everything that I have. So this is my last Laurel K. Hamilton book going out the door. Already unhauled all of the Anita Blake books, but yeah, this one was a fairy one by Laurel K. Hamilton. I also unhauled Lola and the Millionaires by Catherine Moon. I read like 20 pages of this and was like, I just don't want to. This was my first foray into like proper Omegaverse. Somebody started Sentin before page 17. Was not a fan. Omegaverse also definitely not for me. If it's for you, I'm so happy for you. I wish it was for me, but it truly is not. I also unhauled Queen Takes Nights by Jolie Sue Burkhart and Friends with the Monsters by Albany Walker. These are all ones that I hauled or were gifted to me at a time when I was exploring romance, and I have explored reverse harem now and discovered I am not a fan. I'm also unhauling some of my Joe Abercrombie books, which I still feel kind of weird about, but I've decided that I no longer want Best Served Cold, Sharp Ends or Red Country. So the reason why I'm unsure about these is because they are part of the First Law universe. This one is a collection of short stories, and these two are the standalones, or two of the standalones that go between the First Law trilogy and the Age of Madness trilogy. So I feel weird because they are part of a series. They're standalones and short stories, so it's not integral to read them. I've read them once. If I ever chose to reread First Law, I would not reread these, so I don't need them. But the completionist in me feels weird about unhauling them, but this one is my least favorite. I think. I'm pretty sure this is my least favorite First Law book overall. This one was a bit meh. Like, it was fine, but I don't love it. And I just don't care about short stories in general, and I especially don't care about these ones. So I feel like unhauling them is for the best. I am also unhauling Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I am kind of sad about this one as well because I really love An Enchantment of Ravens. Sadly, I did not like Sorcery of Thorns. Once again, the completionist in me wants to keep all of the books by an author if I like anything by that author. But I just have no need for this one. Another one that I DNF'd, actually 3 books that I DNF'd during Charlotte or Scrap It. We have A River of Golden Bones by A.K. Mulford. This is one that I received. I didn't know that this was going to be the Locked Library book of the month, otherwise I would have skipped it because I've read from A.K. Mulford before, and while the books that I've read, like, they weren't bad, they're also not for me. Like, it's a faster paced, more plot driven story than I ever typically like. On top of that, this one also follows wolves, which I also don't care for, so I read like a chapter of this and was like, I don't want to read it. This is one that I received in, I think, an Abraxas box. It's supposed to be a series, but the sequel was never published, and I think I read a few chapters of this and was like not really vibing. And then Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. I think I read 100 pages of it, and oh my god, I still have a bookmark in here. I need to check and make sure that I'm not unhauling my bookmarks. But this one, after 100 pages, I wasn't really invested in it, so I just decided to give it up. I think that this is one that I read maybe for Magical Readathon, which is Orphea by Joanne Harris. This one is a, let's call it a modern fairy tale. It's about a woman who is trying to save her daughter, so descends into this fairy realm. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I am coming to learn that fairy tale stories for me, or fairy tale-esque stories, are good in theory and I like the idea of them, but in execution, I'm just an epic fantasy girl, you know? A 200 and something page, 210 page fairy tale story is just not going to stick with me. I like to spend more time with my characters and my stories and my plots than this, so I'm finding that books like this tend to be quite forgettable for me while they're enjoyable while I read them. I decided to unhaul The Lost Boy by Christina Henry, I think in the last episode of Shelve It or Scrap It, because I have read 3 other Christina Henry books and not really enjoyed any of them. So I was going to keep this one because they're kind of in, like, I didn't like the Alice books, but I read the Little Red Riding Hood one and I enjoyed it until I got to the end, which I thought was awful. So I was going to read this one because I've heard that this is like one of their best books, but I just didn't care enough when it came down to it to actually bother reading it. So I'm just going to unhaul it. Oh, I'm not enjoying, which is why I'm unhauling multiple copies of the same books. So very, very sadly, I am going to be unhauling my Fairy Loot editions of the study series by Maria B. Snyder, as well as the beat up paperback copies I owned before I got these ones. So I read this series recently. It was like the beginning of the year. I'm pretty sure I've already unhauled my regular paperback copy of Poison Study. And this series started off strong. I really enjoyed book 1, but I didn't like book 2 was okay, and I didn't like book 3 to the point now where part 2 of this has gone on sale on Fairy Loot and I just haven't bought it because I don't care enough to spend that money. I'm very sad though because these editions are gorgeous, some of my favorite Fairy Loot editions, but I just do not have the space to keep hold of things that I don't care about. I am somebody who is very attached to inanimate objects as well. It is a product of my childhood in more ways than one, more reasons than one have built me into this person that wants to keep everything. More and more over the last year or so, I'm also becoming a person who doesn't want to be so attached to objects, because it gets to a point where having so much stuff really overwhelms me and I feel the urge to purge. I'm trying to like cure myself of that, and I feel like I'm definitely like on that path. And so things that are pretty that I want to like but don't actually like are no longer staying in my possession. I also unhauled my hardback copy of Glow by Raven Kennedy. I picked this up just to read. I do really enjoy this series, but I have the indie paperbacks of books 1 and 3. That's the original way that I read them. Then it became traditionally published, and Fairy Loot did a special edition once again of books 1 to 3, which I also have. So at the moment, like, I've just got book 5 out from the library, and I'm going to try and read book 6 that way as well. But I picked this up because it was half price, just to read it and unhaul it until Fairy Loot eventually announced books 4 to 6, and I can purchase that in a set that matches. Like, I don't want 3 different editions of these books. So really enjoyed this book, gave it a 4-star. Very excited to start book 5. I just don't need that copy of it. A Fairy Loot book that did I read 50 pages of this and I couldn't tell you anything about it. It was like very mid, not even bad, like it was fine and I could have continued. I just didn't feel like I was going to care very much about it, so I cut my losses, which is Fire with Fire by Destiny Soraya. This was another Shelf It or Scrap It book. A book that I thought I was going to love and was very ambivalent about was A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. So I've read the first 2 books in the Bridge Kingdom series and I love it. I had heard very, very good things about this. So obviously, being somebody who has enjoyed Danielle L. Jensen in the past and is hearing very good reviews of this book, I expected to love it. I understand, actually, I really understand why a lot of people really love this book. I did not. I feel like it's very well balanced between being character driven and like plot driven, but it wasn't as like it was a good book. It was. I just didn't like it very much. I feel like I would have liked more character development, more slow moments. I would have liked more of a slow build to everything. Everything just done in a little bit more detail. I also don't love Norse mythology settings, so I would recommend this if you want a good character plot balanced fantasy romance story and Norse mythology. I just didn't love it. I am also, what's this? This is a Fairy Loot thank you postcard, not a bookmark. I'm also unhauling Slave to Sensation by Nalini Singh. This is the first book in the Side Changeling series. I still have the Archangel series by Nalini Singh that I have yet to try. This one, knowing that it is a different couple in every book. I don't love paranormal. I don't love books like this that are like 300 pages following a different couple and the series is like 20 books long. It's just not really for me. It's not a format that I enjoy. So I decided to unhaul this one, where originally I was going to give book 2 a try. Now I know myself enough to know there's no point. Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. This one is the Afterlight edition. I did really enjoy this one, but more for the contemporary issues that it tackles than the romance. I would be tempted to continue, and that there is a big possibility that I may continue this series in the future because books 2 and 3 are available at my library. I just didn't feel like I enjoyed this enough to want to keep an edition of Delilah on my shelves, because I don't care enough to buy the sequels, so it would just be this one for no reason. I am also unhauling The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. This is the sequel to a book that I rated 5 stars, which is The Ex-Hex. I loved that book. This one I gave 2 stars. I very much did not enjoy. Like with Joe Abercrombie, I am feeling quite torn about things like this because these are like standalones, companion novels more than they are an actual series, so I don't need to keep them all. But then the completionist part of me feels weird just keeping book 1, but regardless, I finally got to a point where I was like, no, okay, let's unhaul book 2. Luna Love by Lauren Kung Jessen. This is one of the ones that has been on my unhaul pile the longest, so I don't remember the most about why I didn't love this one. I think that it was kind of like a very average contemporary romance. The love interest I remember was fine, like he was a decent, like, normal human being, and the main character was like going hard to sabotage him, which I thought then made him a little bit too forgiving, because I was like, I absolutely not would still be trying to date this woman. It's unhinged. But yeah, it was just fine. And then the last things that I'm unhauling, I'm sad about these because this is a series that started so strong and went downhill so quickly, but that is all of Rat Queens by, I can't even remember, Curtis G. Weeb and Rock Upchurch. I've never been sure about the pronunciation of the author's name, but I loved like the first 3, I want to say, volumes of this, and then it just very slowly and gradually went downhill to the point where I didn't really love the last couple of volumes. So I've decided to unhaul this one. It hurts, it really does, because I think I gave volume 1 5 stars and I really didn't like the end, but I just, part of me wants to keep like volume 1 and part of me also is like, you should just get rid of all of them. But yeah, this is a sad one because the promise of how good it could have been. Oh, there was the art style changes as well. So they dropped to the artist for very valid reasons, but I didn't like the art style that they changed to after that. And then they had multiple artists coming in and doing like sections of the series, and it all just went a bit tits up if I'm being honest. So I'm gonna have to say goodbye to this one. So those are all of the books that I am unhauling in this round. I guess you can expect at least one more pretty decently sized unhaul before the end of the year. I'm actually really happy at how quickly and efficiently I feel like I'm unhauling right now, because like I said, I am trying to break down my attachment to objects and remove the things from my life that do not serve me in many more ways than one, and this level of unhauling is helping me to do that. So down in the comments, leave me an emoji, leave me a, is there a rat? There is a rat emoji. Leave me some rats in the comments, guys. I was gonna say like, let me know if you enjoyed any of these books, but don't do that. That's just sad. So leave me, like, if you don't have anything you feel like you want to say but you want to let me know you're here, leave me a rat emoji down in the comments. Aside from that, guys, in my description box you will find a link to that Vinted if you want to go ahead, give me a follow and get notified when books I unhaul go up for sale, as well as a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Patreon if you'd like to join me on any of those. But that's it from me today, guys. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.